The golden hour, the evening sun filtered through the tall windows of Murphy's diner, casting long amber streaks across the worn linoleum floor. Emma Chen moved between the tables with practiced grace, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun, wisps catching the golden light. She had been working the dinner shift for 3 years now, and her feet knew every crack in the floor, every squeaky board near the kitchen door. "Refill, hon?" she asked an elderly couple in booth 7, already reaching for the coffee pot she carried like an extension of her arm. The diner was part of a national chain, one of those places that dotted highways and strip malls across America. Corporate logos on the windows, standardized menus. But Murphy's had something the other locations didn't: Emma and her quiet talent for making people feel seen. She didn't just take orders, she noticed things. The businessman who always ordered scrambled eggs when he was stressed. The teenager who needed someone to listen more than she needed fries. The single mother who counted change twice before ordering. Emma noticed because she understood struggling. Her own apartment was a studio with a radiator that clanked like a prisoner rattling chains. Her car needed a new transmission, and her bank account looked like a bad joke with a worse punchline. But she showed up. Every shift. With a genuine smile. The dinner rush was winding down when the man walked in. He didn't look like the usual crowd. Most customers came in wearing business casual or workout gear, rushed and distracted. This man moved slowly, deliberately, as if he had nowhere else to be. He wore an old denim jacket, weathered and soft with age. His beard was long and gray, his hair silver and slightly unkempt. He looked tired. Not sleepy tired. Soul tired. Emma watched him settle into a corner booth, the one by the window where the evening light pooled warmest. He didn't reach for his phone. He just sat there, hands folded on the table, staring at nothing. She gave him a minute before approaching. "Evening," Emma said softly, setting down a menu. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" The man looked up and she saw something flicker in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition of kindness, as if he'd forgotten what it looked like. "Coffee, please," he said. His voice was rough like gravel smoothed by a river. "Black." "Coming right up." When she returned with the steaming cup, Emma noticed his hands trembling slightly as he reached for it. She'd seen that before. Low blood sugar, exhaustion, or something worse. Without a word, she pulled a wrapped muffin from her apron pocket and set it beside his cup. "On the house," she said quietly. "You look like you could use it." The man stared at the muffin, then at her. His eyes were suddenly bright, glassy. He nodded once, unable to speak. Emma moved away to give him privacy. Some people needed space with their emotions. 20 minutes passed. The man ate slowly, methodically, like someone remembering how. Emma refilled his coffee twice without him asking. Each time, she added that small gesture, straightening his napkin, making sure the cream was within reach, checking that he was okay without making it obvious. The third time she approached, he finally spoke. "You're very good at this," he said. Emma smiled. "At pouring coffee? I'd hope so after 3 years." "No?" He shook his head. "At seeing people." The words hung in the air between them. Emma felt something shift, though she couldn't name it. "I just try to treat folks the way I'd want to be treated," she said, "especially when they're having a hard day." Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been there. The man studied her for a long moment. "What's your name?" Emma Chen." "I'm Richard," he said, extending a weathered hand. "Richard Murphy." The name didn't register at first. Emma shook his hand. His grip was surprisingly strong, and smiled. "Nice to meet you, Richard. You need anything else?" "Just the check." Emma brought it over, the total barely $15. Richard pulled out a worn wallet and extracted a crisp $100 bill. He placed it on the table and stood buttoning his jacket. That's too much," Emma stammered. "No," Richard said, his voice firm but gentle. "It's not enough." He walked toward the door, then paused and turned back. "Emma Chen, remember that name, because I will." And then he was gone, disappearing into the blue hour of dusk. Emma stood holding the $100 bill, confused and oddly moved. She looked at the corner booth, at the empty coffee cup and the crumbs from the muffin. Something about the encounter felt significant, though she couldn't explain why. "You okay?" asked Marcus, the line cook, poking his head through the kitchen window. "Yeah," Emma said slowly. Yeah." She tucked the money carefully into her apron and continued her shift. 3 weeks passed. Before everything changed, Emma arrived for her Tuesday morning shift to find the diner in chaos. The manager, Carol, was pacing near the coffee station, phone pressed to her ear. The other servers clustered near the hostess stand, whispering urgently. "What's going on?" Emma asked, tying her apron. "Corporate's coming," said Jenny, another waitress. Like the corporate. "The CEO, today. Right now." Emma's stomach dropped. Corporate visits meant inspections, evaluations, potential job losses. She'd heard stories from other locations, entire staffs replaced after a bad review. Why didn't they warn us? Emma asked. "That's the thing," Carol said, hanging up her phone. Her face was pale. "This isn't a scheduled visit. He apparently requested this location specifically, by name." The bell above the door chimed. Emma turned, ready to greet the customer, and froze. Standing in the doorway, wearing a pressed suit instead of a denim jacket, clean-shaven with neatly trimmed hair, was Richard, but not Richard the tired stranger. Richard Murphy, CEO and founder of Murphy's Diner chain. Their eyes met across the room. His expression was calm, knowing. Hers must have been pure shock. "Good morning," he said to the assembled staff. "I apologize for the surprise visit. I was in the neighborhood." His eyes never left Emma's face. The next hour passed in a blur. Richard walked through the diner with practiced efficiency, checking inventory, reviewing procedures, speaking quietly with Carol. But his attention kept returning to Emma, who mechanically went through her side work, mind racing. Finally, he approached her station. "Walk with me?" It wasn't really a question. They stepped outside into the parking lot. Morning traffic hummed on the nearby highway. Emma's heart hammered. "I don't understand," she said. Richard leaned against the brick wall, and for a moment, he looked like the tired man from 3 weeks ago. "That night," he began, "I was at the lowest point of my life. My wife had passed 6 months earlier. I'd thrown myself into work, but it wasn't helping. I was lost." He paused, choosing words carefully. "I decided to visit our locations, anonymously, to see if the company I'd built still had heart, or if it had become just another corporate machine. I visited 15 different Murphys across 3 states. Most were fine, efficient, clean, adequate." Emma waited, sensing there was more. "But adequate isn't why I started this company 40 years ago. I wanted places where people felt cared for, where someone would notice if you were struggling, where kindness was just as important as the food." He looked directly at her. "I'd given up on finding that. And then I walked into your diner. I just gave you a muffin," Emma said softly. "You saw me," Richard corrected. "You saw a person having a hard day, and you responded with quiet compassion. No fanfare, no expectation of reward. You did it because that's who you are." He smiled, and it transformed his face. "That's what Murphy's was supposed to be. What it still can be." Emma felt tears prickling her eyes. "I have a proposition," Richard continued. "I need someone to help me remember what matters. Someone to train our managers, to teach them what real hospitality looks like. Someone who understands that this job isn't about transactions, it's about people." He pulled out a business card, wrote something on the back, and handed it to her. "Director of Customer Experience. Full benefits. Salaries on the back. You'd travel to different locations, work with staff, help rebuild our culture." He paused. "But you'd also be saving what Murphy's was meant to be." Emma looked at the number on the card. It was more than 3 times what she currently made. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you saved me that night," Richard said simply. "You reminded me why any of this matters. And if you could do that for a stranger, imagine what you could do for this company." The morning sun climbed higher, warming the asphalt. In the distance, a church bell chimed 9 times. Emma thought about her struggling car, her tiny apartment, her aching feet. But mostly, she thought about the man before her, a CEO who'd wandered into her diner carrying grief and left carrying hope. "When do I start?" she asked. Richard's smile was like sunrise. "How about Monday?" 6 months later, Emma stood in a different Murphy's diner, this time in Oregon, watching a young server notice an older customer sitting alone. Without prompting, the server brought extra napkins and a warm smile, taking a moment to actually listen when asked how his day was going. Emma made a note on her tablet, but she was smiling. The culture was changing. Slowly, steadily, one interaction at a time. Richard had been right. Kindness could be taught, but only by people who truly understood its value. Her phone buzzed. A text from Richard. "How's the Portland location?" She typed back, "Getting there. Just like we are," because that was the truth about saving someone. Sometimes you did it with a muffin and a moment of attention.